Welcome. D Muse here. Welcome to the Art Life Podcast. This episode is titled Should Artists Redo Popular Artworks? Of course, the Art Life Podcast is brought to you by none other than the Pay the Artist Club. If you need any assistance with your art marketing, branding, sales, or positioning, if you have any events coming up, if you want to learn how to put together, an art event or any type of consultation under the art business umbrella, make sure you reach out to me. Make sure you go to imdmuse.com and you check us out. Instagram everywhere, imdmuse, and you inquire about the Pay the Artist Club, and we'll talk and we'll get you right. So, for the topic at hand, should artists redo popular artworks? Yes and no. I'm sure you heard the phrase, there's a time and place for everything, right? First and foremost, yes, in the beginning of your creative journey, 100%. It not only helps you kind of catch up, and absorb the past, but I feel it kind of sets you up in terms of quickly get into your likes and dislikes, what you're comfortable with faster than you kind of just trying everything in the world. Because the thing is, you're looking at specific pieces or specific artists or specific masters or whatever you want to call them, and you're probably drawn to some of their things for specific reasons. You might not even consciously know what those reasons are. Maybe it's technique, maybe it's brush strokes, maybe it's use of color, maybe it's use of texture, maybe it's composition, subject matter, whatever it is that draws you to that. There's a reason why you're drawn to that. And it's probably some version of that aligns with your creative expression, right? So you need to learn that. Like in pretty much everything in the world, everybody has been taught something. Like you kind of had a teacher. Even if you end up coming up with something new, it was probably based off of some older findings, some older philosophies, and you end up using that to come up with your own stuff. But at this point, there's nothing that's coming completely out of nowhere. It was based off of something. Even if you looked at something and decided to go the total opposite direction of what that was, it's still based off of something. The phrase, of course, nothing new under the sun. There is nothing new under the sun. But as creatives, we can pull something out that's for this time, that might have been invented and buried, and now you have the responsibility to bring it back into existence, right? So in terms of training yourself, of course, 100%, I recommend you use the imitation technique, and you try to see what you can, even copy directly, let alone model something after. So you're doing this to a point until you can create this stuff on your own without looking at that image. Even if you're using similar techniques, there's probably going to be some variation in between what you saw and what you're doing. If there's not, you might want to create a variation, or maybe even combine some different things in with that, or exclude some things out of that. Like there has to be something to make it different, really, before you call it your own. Nobody's going to come up with ingredients for a cake that's kind of never ever been used. But there's different measurements of the ingredients that you can use, and it's going to come out with a different type of cake. It's going to be different sizes, different shapes, different texture, different consistency. You know, some of them might be hella dry, some might be fluffy, some might be flat, some might fall. You know, I just actually just had a cake and it required 3 eggs, and I only had 2. And I'm plant-based anyway. I didn't even have my egg substitute stuff I normally use, and literally only had 2 eggs. So it was a little light, and when I left the cake up in the middle, it was split in the middle. Like, this light, fluffy, juicy, tasted delicious, but it wasn't holding together all right because I didn't put all the proper ingredients where they were supposed to be. So it kind of worked that same way. So it's like, yeah, you can take this from this from this different people, but the way you put it together has to be different. So yes, use that as a model. Use that as a test of your skills, inspiration, but you can't call somebody else stuff your own. It's the equivalent of just becoming somebody's parent that you didn't have anything to do with their conception or birth of. Like, oh yeah, that's my son. That person don't even know you. How that's your son? You didn't create that. That's not you. That don't know. That's his son. He created that. You might be a friend. You might be a godfather. So maybe if something happened to the actual father, you know what I mean, you step in, but still, you'll never be the biological father. And hopefully you don't hear that. You ain't my dad. Well, you know, hopefully you gotta hear that. That hurts. You don't want to hear that. But it's not yours. I mean, you're there on borrowed time. You were playing the position, you're learning, it's part of the process. So yes, because of that, you do want to challenge yourself, especially if you start to get bored in your creativity. I recommend you kind of pluck one thing from an artist, not everything, and figure out how to remix that. You know, get bored again, do it again. And then in terms of starting to develop your own style, your own voice, let me tell you at least in the way I did it, right? Tried a bunch of different things. All right, let's do things with more geometrical shapes. You know, let's do things with, you know, more lines. Let's do things with, you know, more spouts of color, or let's go a little more neon, or let's go, you know, let's change some things on the background, or let's, you know, stencil some things, or let's, whatever it was, and figuring out not only how the end process is looking, but how I feel when I'm doing it. Like, I enjoy this part of the process. So I want to keep doing that when I create something because I enjoy that. So that starts to become consistent in my work. So it starts to become my voice, my style, you know, part of what it is that I do. In developing that for you, consistency, of course, is going to be big on it. People get used to seeing you do this, and then I start to identify that with you if you're consistent with that over time. If you're copying other people, you either got to keep copying the same person, which you'll be known to be a copycat of, or you'll never really identify, you know, get your own artistic voice, your own style, because you keep copying a bunch of different people and you never figured out what was you. And you're needed. The other person was needed and they came and did what they had to do. Now we need you to do what it is that you do. So we need you to have your own voice. So as far as training, you know, every scholar should have a pupil. Every student should have a mentor in multiple areas of your life. So yeah, you can learn from some old stuff, things that have been done already, classic stuff. But that's just it, it's a study. And also think about it this way too, and it particularly, I think, affect more people when you think about it in terms of like visual stories. Because I don't know if anybody's actually like redid a book, but people redo movies, people redo TV shows, and especially in movies, it's like oftentimes that remake is nowhere near as good as the first, and it was like, yeah, you kind of could have left that alone and not spend any money, time, or effort to do that because it was nowhere near that original. You don't want to fall in that category, even if it's nice, because there's emotion, and particularly when they lead to art, um, nostalgia behind things in any art form, be it, movies, songs, or whatever. When that song came out, what was going on in your life? That's why you feel that way about that song and that version of that song. Now somebody else came and they did it again. Even if they do it justice, it's not the same. It's not striking that same chord. The voice is not exactly the same, which is, that pitch is bringing back that reminder, putting you in that same place. Write your song for now. It could be similar, it could be based off of that and stylistically, but it has to be identifiably yours. So for example, let's take one of my favorite contemporary artists now, Lucky Day. He's very Prince-esque. You can tell that he was influenced by him, that he admired him, but got his own wave, newer, fresher, not copying, but paying homage to, and definitely is, obviously influenced by. But you can tell there's also pieces of influence from other genres even, You can tell he got jazz, and, you can tell he got blues, and, he got Help Daddy from New Orleans, got that Creole funk, as well. Kind of all mixed into one. So as beautiful as it would be to have him do a classic or something, to hear him, because, great voice, but it's not going to be the same. We want to hear you. We want to get to know you. We want your version. You already know about the older ones, and that's cool. We love them. We always will. They will have their place. It's solidified already. If you want to get solidified, you have to be you. You have to be different. You cannot be copying anyone other than yourself. You can use other people to learn, to grow, to test and challenge yourself. You can do that against yourself and be versus yourself. I recommend artists, especially when they start to fall into creative bouts, where they find like some type of block in their productivity. I recommend them, one of the exercises can be what was some of your best received pieces that you've created in the past. Let's recreate them, especially if it's been years since you created them, because I'm sure you can create them even better. But it's going to challenge you. It's going to give you a measurement to see what your progress has been. If you progressed, hopefully when you put them side by side in the images, you're like, yeah, this one is definitely better, than that one was back then. So that's a measurement. You can also do that with some of the, the masters or some classic stuff. Do your version of it as a test to refuel your creativity. Help launch another, image or piece or something. So these are the times I recommend you copy or you redo somebody else's stuff. You can also use that as a marketing employee as well. So you just finding different older masters and you're like, hey, I'm paying homage once a month to, somebody I love and respect, came up in this game watching somebody, out there still doing it, let's say, Charlie Palmer or, McLean Thomas or, anybody that's out there kind of still, doing their thing and being honored now while they're here still too, and getting, well, I won't say their worth, but they're getting a nice penny, and you'll count by pockets. You're like, oh, that's what they're worth, but they're getting some nice pennies, so I'm sure it's stacking up. You can use them and kind of shout out every month and tag them in, and maybe they like what you did and repost it, or like it, or slide in your DM, start a conversation, or maybe they just like it and then you slide in their DMs. Hey, thank you for liking it. Really love, honor, respect you. Just wanted to do that because remind everybody how awesome you was and blah blah blah. And then next thing you know, that starts a conversation which can start a relationship. But there's a time and a place, a strategy behind using somebody else's stuff. You always want to be separating yourself from everybody else. Otherwise, who are you? You don't know you. You're in the blob. You're everybody else. So, to be different, can't do what's been done, how it's been done. Do you, how you do you. Be inspired, be motivated, but be you. Again, this is brought to you by the Pay the Artist Club. Catch me everywhere. I am the Muse. Slide in the DM. Leave the word PTA for Pay the Artist, and we get you right in your art, marketing, branding, sales, and position. It's the Muse, Pay the Artist.